Okay, this lesson is on two-way frequency tables. Two-way frequency tables are a simple way to compare data with two variables. This is different from what we were doing last week. With our box plots and histograms, we only have one variable, like the ages of students at a party or how long it takes to get to school. So please open your notes and follow along on a piece of paper. You can try to print it out if you want to, the notes, but if you want to do that, I would do it through Google Drive. I think you'll have better luck. So I'm going to stop the video for a moment and recreate the chart that is on the first page of the notes. So this is a typical two-way frequency chart. You see, this is your total number of students, okay? Here are these rows are studied and didn't study, and these columns are passed and failed. So you can see that there are different buckets of information. Here are students who studied and passed. Here are students who studied and yet they failed, and those students add up to 15. Likewise, the students who passed the test, 12 of them studied and 1 of them didn't, for a total of 13. And one more piece of information, you could have written the studied and didn't study up here and the passed and failed right here. It doesn't matter how the data is laid out as long as you were consistent. So let's answer some questions, and I can show you a little bit about how this works, and then we will recreate a brand new one in the notes part 2. So you can see here they're asking you the first question, how many students studied? That's easy, 15. How many students failed? That's easy too, 17. How many students did not study and failed the test? See how you just line them up? 14. What percentage of students didn't study? So if we have 30 students total, and here are the number that studied, and here are the number that didn't study, it's very easy to figure out that 15 out of 30, right? Remember, you're always writing this over the number, the total. So this is 1/2, which is 0.5 or 50%. Which brings me to the blanks that we need to fill out at the top of the page. So the top of that page, you have 2 blanks. The first blank, the word that goes in that blank is variables. A two-way frequency table is a table that displays the relationship between the data of 2 different variables. Okay? And the second blank is a very important definition, relative frequency. It's the number of times something occurs or happens divided by the total. And you can use the total number, or you could be asking a question where one of the totals would be one of these. And we'll see that in the next in the next part. So quickly, to go through the rest of the questions in these notes. What percentage of students didn't study? It was 50%. What percentage of students passed the test? Well, if 13 students passed the test and 30 students took the test, then that's 13 over 30, which if you took your calculators out, turns out to be 43.33%. Okay? So out of the students that passed the test, what percentage studied? So of the students that passed, so see, we only care about this, we got 12 over 13, which if you work that out with your calculator, 92.31%. So now they're asking you the relative frequency questions, all right? What's the relative frequency of students who studied and passed? And remember, the relative frequency has to go to this number, your total. So if you studied and passed, that number is 12. And when you write that number over 30, it reduces to 2/5 or 0.4 or 40%. See how this works? So what is the relative frequency of students who failed the test? So just students who failed. So 17 of them failed. So 17 divided by 30 equals 0.57 or 56.67%. So is there an association? And this is where you use these tables. Is people will ask you, okay, that's great, you've got this data, so could you make a case that is there an association between studying and passing? And yes, you can say that, because from this data, if you studied, you were far more likely to pass the test. However, the last question asks, is this statement always true? If a student studies, they will pass the test. The answer to that has to be no, because 15 students studied. 12 of them passed, but 3 of them didn't. So you cannot say that if you study, you will pass. This is it for this video. Now let's go to part 2.